Let's be brutally honest. Silence hurts more than words ever could. Not because it's cruel, but because it forces a woman to hear the truth echoing in her own mind. When a man goes silent, truly silent, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect, something shifts inside her. She starts to wonder if she pushed too far, if she crossed a line she can't uncross. And that's when she begins to feel the weight of what she took for granted. You see, most men talk their way out of their power. They chase clarity, they beg for closure, they over-explain, they argue, they defend. But silence, real, grounded, masculine silence, says more than any speech could. It says, I value my peace more than your validation. It says, I don't need to convince you to see my worth. That unnerves her, because when she loses control of your attention, she starts to lose control of her emotions. At first, she'll act unfazed. She'll post something online, laugh a little louder, maybe even pretend she's already moved on. But make no mistake, silence has a way of creeping into her thoughts late at night, when her phone doesn't light up with your name, when she replays the last conversation and realizes you didn't fight to stay. That quiet becomes deafening. And this is where most men break. They can't stand the unknown. They think silence means weakness. But here's the truth. Silence is strength disguised as stillness. It's emotional control in its purest form. It's the art of letting her feel what she made you feel, without saying a single word. When you stop reaching out, she starts reaching inward. She begins to feel the absence of your energy. Not just your words, but your presence. Your calm, your focus, your grounding energy that used to steady her chaos. And when she realizes that energy isn't accessible anymore, that's when she feels the loss. But here's where the deeper psychology kicks in. Women are emotional detectives. When they sense something's off, they search for patterns, clues, reasons. But silence gives them nothing to analyze, no new data to interpret, no emotional thread to pull. And in that emptiness, her mind fills in the blanks, usually with regret, usually with thoughts like, did I misjudge him? Did I push too far? Has he moved on? That's how silence becomes your loudest statement. It's not manipulation, it's reflection. You're not punishing her, you're protecting your peace. You're teaching her that your presence is a privilege, not a given. You're reminding her that not every man will tolerate being emotionally drained or disrespected. Because when a man values himself, he stops performing for someone who doesn't see his worth. And that's the paradox most men never understand. Silence isn't about ignoring her, it's about honoring yourself. It's about stepping out of the emotional battlefield she expects and walking into your own peace. Because when you stop playing her game, you start controlling your own. So, the next time she pulls away, tests you, or goes cold, don't panic, don't chase, don't react. Just go silent with intent, not to hurt her, but to heal you. Because silence doesn't mean absence, it means transformation. And the man who masters it becomes unforgettable. When you go silent, she doesn't just notice, she feels it deeply. At first, she'll pretend it doesn't bother her. She'll act cool, scroll through social media, maybe even flirt with the illusion of being free again. But inside, a quiet panic begins. Because for the first time, she realizes the emotional leash she thought she had on you has snapped. And now she's the one left wondering. You have to understand this about female psychology. Women are wired to feel connection more intensely than men. Their emotions are their compass. And when a man withdraws that steady stream of energy, it creates an emotional vacuum, one that echoes louder the longer it stays empty. Silence, to her, isn't just distance. It's disconnection, it's uncertainty. And uncertainty to a woman is emotional chaos. At first, she'll rationalize it. He's just busy. He'll text me soon. He always comes back. But as hours turn into days and days into weeks, that quiet starts whispering something she doesn't want to admit. Maybe he's done trying. Maybe he's finally seeing his worth. Maybe he's not afraid to walk away. And that realization terrifies her. Here's the hidden truth. When a man chases, she feels safe, not because she wants him, but because she knows she still has his attention. But when a man goes silent, he becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability triggers emotional tension. It forces her to face herself, her decisions, her pride, her guilt. Suddenly, the tables turn. She's no longer analyzing you, she's analyzing herself. She replays every interaction, every text she ignored, every moment she acted like she didn't care. And with each replay, a small seed of doubt grows. Did I ruin this? Did I misread him? Has he really moved on? That's the beauty of silence. It makes her confront the mirror she's been avoiding. But don't mistake her silence for peace. Even when she doesn't reach out, she's thinking. She's checking your status, stalking your activity, asking mutual friends subtle questions. She might even test the waters. A random text, a story view, a hey stranger message that seems innocent but carries layers of curiosity. Because deep down, she wants to know if your silence was real or just a tactic. And that's where your discipline becomes power. Most men crumble at that point. The second she gives a little attention, they rush back, undoing all the respect they built in silence. But a man who understands silence, who truly lives in it, knows that not responding is sometimes the strongest response. Because she'll never miss you if you're always available. She'll never feel your value if you're constantly explaining it. Here's a psychological truth. Emotional intensity creates emotional attachment. And silence, when used from a place of self-worth, not spite, amplifies intensity. The quieter you get, the louder her emotions become. That's why some women will suddenly reach out weeks or even months later, pretending it's casual. But it's not casual. It's her checking if she still matters. Your silence made her reflect, your absence made her remember, and your indifference made her realize what your presence used to mean. That's the paradox she never saw coming. You didn't have to say a single word. You let her own mind do the talking for you. And trust me, her mind is relentless. It won't stop looping until it finds closure. But when you remain silent, there is no closure. Only curiosity and longing. Silence creates mystery. Mystery creates attraction. And attraction creates motion. She'll start coming toward you, but only if your silence is real, not cold, not manipulative, just detached. You've accepted that if she comes back, good. If not, better. Because a man who walks in silence doesn't chase outcomes. He attracts alignment. That's when she feels the depth of your silence, not as punishment, but as power. Power that came from restraint. Power that came from self-control. Power that came from you choosing peace over proving a point. And that is the moment she realizes she lost a man who didn't need to raise his voice to be heard. Silence doesn't just make her feel your absence, it reshapes your presence. It changes the entire energy you carry as a man. Because when you stop chasing noise, you start radiating calm. When you stop trying to explain your worth, you start embodying it. And that shift, that quiet, grounded strength, is what every woman instinctively craves, yet rarely encounters. Most men talk too much because they fear being misunderstood. But here's the truth. Silence isn't misunderstanding. It's mastery. It's emotional discipline disguised as mystery. And when you cultivate it, you begin to separate yourself from the masses of men who react to everything. You stop being predictable. You stop being emotionally available on demand. You become a question in her mind instead of an answer in her inbox. And the moment a woman starts to wonder about you, attraction starts to rebuild itself, quietly, invisibly. Because women are drawn to mystery the same way fire is drawn to oxygen. It feeds the flame. Your silence becomes that oxygen. It allows her curiosity to breathe, her emotions to grow, her longing to deepen. Every time she checks your profile, every time she wonders why you haven't reached out, every time she feels that tug of regret, your silence is doing the talking. It's saying, I'm not the same man you thought I was. I don't need your validation to feel complete. And that's when she starts to see you differently. Not as the man who was desperate for her attention, but as the man who learned to master his focus. She'll feel it energetically. a calm power that doesn't need to prove anything. She won't know how to describe it, but she'll sense it, because silence radiates a confidence that words can't fake. This is the moment when your masculine presence begins to evolve. You stop reacting to her emotional tests, you stop trying to decode mixed signals, and you start to operate from purpose instead of panic. You begin to realize that silence isn't withdrawal, it's protection. It's you choosing not to participate in emotional chaos. It's you refusing to hand over your peace for temporary validation. And here's the part that most men miss. The power of silence doesn't come from ignoring her. It comes from knowing yourself. It's rooted in a man's ability to be alone without feeling lonely. When you can sit in solitude and find strength there, your entire energy changes. You become harder to manipulate, harder to trigger, harder to replace. Because silence breeds self-respect, and self-respect is magnetic. It's the invisible aura that separates men who need attention from men who attract it naturally. When you're silent, you stop chasing external validation and start building internal stability. You start reading more, training more, working more, evolving more. You redirect your energy inward. And that's when you become the man she can't stop thinking about. See, women don't regret losing a man who begged for their attention. They regret losing the man who quietly leveled up after they doubted him, the man who didn't post emotional quotes or dramatic stories, the man who just disappeared and came back stronger, more focused, more composed. Silence creates that evolution. It's the cocoon that turns emotional chaos into masculine clarity. And the more you embrace that silence, the more it transforms your aura. Your words become fewer, but they carry more weight. Your movements become slower, but more deliberate. Your boundaries become unspoken, but undeniable. You become a man who doesn't need to shout to be respected. His presence alone commands it. That's when she begins to feel the pull. Not because you're chasing, but because your energy has changed. You've gone from being emotionally reactive to energetically untouchable. You've gone from being a man who needed her to a man who chose peace. And in that transformation, she feels something no words can replicate, the quiet confidence of a man who walked away and never lost himself doing it. There's a moment, it always comes, when your silence stops being confusing and starts being haunting. It's when she realizes you're not coming back, not to argue, not to fix things, not to prove your point. You're just gone. And that absence becomes the loudest sound in her life. At first, she'll try to fill the silence. She'll distract herself, talk to other people, maybe even convince herself she's fine. But deep down, something feels off. Something feels missing. Because even if she's surrounded by noise, your silence has a specific tone, one she can't tune out. It lingers. It echoes in the spaces where your presence used to be. And every time she tries to ignore it, it gets louder. This is the emotional spiral your silence creates. It's not immediate. It builds over time, slowly, subtly, like water dripping on stone. At first, she resists it, then she starts to feel it, and finally, she surrenders to it. That's when her mind begins replaying every moment with you. The conversation she dismissed, the affection she took for granted, the boundaries she crossed thinking you'd never leave. And when she realizes that your silence isn't a tactic, but a transformation, it breaks something inside her. Because deep down, she expected you to be predictable. She expected you to chase, to plead, to prove. That's what every man before you did. But when you didn't, when you chose peace instead of pursuit, she lost the script. Now she's living in the unknown, and women fear the unknown more than rejection itself. She starts comparing. The new faces around her don't carry the same energy. The conversations feel empty. The laughter feels forced. Because your silence didn't just remove your voice, it removed the emotional security she used to feel from your presence. And no one else can replicate that. That's what makes your silence powerful. It's not about punishing her. It's about becoming unforgettable. And here's the cruel truth she faces. Silence exposes what she never valued. When you were always available, she didn't see it as loyalty. She saw it as comfort. When you withdrew, she mistook it for pride. But now, she sees it for what it truly was: strength. The strength of a man who could love deeply, yet still walk away when disrespected. The strength of a man who didn't need noise to prove his worth. Her mind will wrestle with that image. She'll check your socials, expecting signs of pain. She'll scroll through your photos, searching for hidden messages. She'll ask mutual friends how you're doing, hoping to hear you're struggling. But when all she finds is silence, calm, consistent, detached silence, it starts to break her ego, because she realizes the attention she once controlled has become her addiction, and you've taken it away. She may even reach out, not out of love, but out of curiosity. She wants to test if she still holds the same power. But when you respond with peace instead of passion, when your tone carries no tension, when your energy says, "I've moved forward," that's when she feels the full weight of your silence. It's not that you're ignoring her, it's that you're beyond needing her response. That's the emotional reversal. You've shifted the dynamic from her approval defines your peace to your peace defines her emotion. That's the moment she regrets, not losing the relationship, but losing the version of you that once cared deeply, because she knows that man doesn't exist anymore. Silence didn't just change how she feels, it changed who you became. And here's the deepest truth most men don't realize. Silence gives her something words never could. Time. Time to reflect. Time to feel. Time to realize what she destroyed. And the longer that silence stretches, the deeper the impact becomes. Because every unanswered thought, every what if, every late night memory, it all becomes part of her regret. Your silence becomes the story she tells herself over and over, the one that starts with, "He used to care," and ends with, "Now he doesn't need me anymore." That's when she finally understands. She didn't lose a man. She lost her peace of mind. When a man truly embraces silence, he stops trying to win her back. He starts winning himself back. That's the real transformation, because silence isn't about proving a point to her. It's about rediscovering your own voice in a world that constantly tells men to explain, to chase, to fix, to prove. Silence is rebellion against emotional dependency. It's a quiet declaration that your peace matters more than her attention. When you stop speaking from pain, you start speaking through presence. You become the man who doesn't react, he responds. Who doesn't beg, he chooses. Who doesn't cling, he calibrates. That's the kind of energy that not only draws women in, it commands respect from everyone around you. Because true masculine energy isn't loud, it's steady. It's that calm that makes people lean in without knowing why. And that's the paradox. The less you try to prove, the more powerful you become. The less you explain, the more mysterious you appear. The less you chase, the more she feels the gravity of your absence. Because silence is confidence in motion. It says, "I trust that what's meant for me will return, and what isn't will fade." And that's a man's highest form of strength. Detachment with dignity. As days turn into weeks and your silence stays firm, something beautiful happens. You stop thinking about her, not because you forced yourself to move on, but because you simply outgrew the version of yourself that needed her validation. You start seeing things differently. You start waking up with purpose again, not pain. You realize that every second of silence was a seed, one that grew roots of discipline, patience, and power inside you. That's when you reclaim your identity. The man who once overthought every message now plans his next move in life. The man who once sought attention now builds something real, a business, a body, a purpose. The man who once feared losing her now understands. The only thing you can truly lose is yourself. And silence is how you find you again. And when she eventually sees you, calm, focused, unbothered, she'll feel that shift in her chest. Because she'll see a man who doesn't need her to validate his worth anymore. A man who's moved from emotional chaos to emotional command. A man who once waited for closure but became the closure himself. That's the ultimate revenge. Not anger, not resentment, evolution. You'll notice something else too. The world starts to respond differently. Opportunities open up. People treat you with new respect. Women sense your composure before you even speak. Because energy doesn't lie. And your silence has trained your energy to speak for you. You've become what she never expected, not cold, not distant, but centered. And that's the kind of man no one forgets. Remember this: silence is not emptiness, it's alignment, it's peace, it's power. It's you choosing to let the noise die so your truth can rise. Because the longer you remain silent, the deeper she feels it. But more importantly, the stronger you become through it. You're not avoiding communication, you're mastering it. You're teaching through absence what words could never teach through presence. That's what being a man truly means. Not reacting to everything that tugs at your emotions, but choosing what deserves your energy. Silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the knowing that not every battle deserves your sword. Sometimes the greatest statement you'll ever make is made in the stillness of your own strength. So if you're in that silent phase right now, stay there. Let her wonder. Let her feel the echo of your absence. Let her discover the weight of your worth through the quiet you left behind. Because silence isn't about who speaks first, it's about who stands stronger when words no longer matter. Question for you: when you went silent, did she ever come back? Or did your silence make you realize you didn't need her anymore? Share your truth in the comments below. Your story might wake another man up tonight. If this message hit deep, like this video, subscribe for more powerful truths about female psychology and share it with a friend who needs to hear this before he breaks his silence for the wrong woman.